Imagine a drug so profoundly powerful that it doesn't just make you full, it actually makes your brain literally forget the joy of eating your favorite meal.
Which is wild to think about.
Right. It biochemically rewires your neural pathways so that a slice of chocolate cake or, a perfectly cooked steak doesn't trigger a dopamine hit anymore.
Yeah, instead it triggers a profound sense of repulsion.
Exactly. You don't just stop eating, you stop wanting food altogether. And that is the reality of the most talked about and frankly misunderstood medication of the decade.
It really is an incredible shift. I mean, we have taken a highly specialized clinical tool designed for very specific metabolic diseases, and we've watched it just explode into a cultural obsession.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And when a medical intervention becomes a trend like this, the actual fascinating biology of it gets buried under an avalanche of red carpet gossip and miracle cure headlines.
Which is exactly why we are pulling it all apart today. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
We are looking squarely at semaglutide.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, and to cut through all the noise we are drawing from a really comprehensive course article from the My-Nutri-Diary app.
Right, and for those who don't know, that's a nutrition and fitness platform strictly dedicated to healthy aging.
Yep. And we're also looking at a medical illustration detailing how this drug is actually administered. So our mission today is objective reality.
Which we desperately need.
We do. Because this drug is a genuine medical milestone for treating diabetes and clinical obesity. That is undeniable. But it has also sparked a massive unmonitored wave of off-label use.
A huge wave.
So we are going to look at the cellular blueprint of how this works, the very real risks involved, and why long-term vitality requires a whole lot more than just a weekly injection. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Before we even touch the cultural fallout, what does this drug physically do when it enters the human body?
Well, we have to start with its classification. Semaglutide belongs to a group of substances known as peptides.
The peptides.
Yeah, and while it was initially pioneered by a Danish pharmaceutical company, the landscape has evolved rapidly. So several companies are now manufacturing similar drugs in this incretin mimetic category.
Right, there's a few versions out there now.
Exactly. You'll see it available orally, like the tablet marketed as Rybelsus. But the versions really dominating the conversation are the subcutaneous injections.
Like Ozempic.
Right, Ozempic, which is generally a 1.0 milligram dose for diabetes, and Wegovy, which is pushed to a higher 2.4 milligram dose for clinical obesity.
And the administration itself is highly specific too. Like the source illustration we were referencing shows a syringe injecting the medication directly into the gluteal area.
Yep, right into the tissue.
Yeah, subcutaneous injection, going directly into the fatty tissue under the skin and bypassing the veins or muscles entirely.
Which creates a slow, sustained release over a full week.
Right. But let's pause at that word you used earlier,
Yeah.
peptide. Because if you haven't sat in a biology class recently, that just sounds like pharmaceutical jargon. What exactly is a peptide? And why is injecting one changing human metabolism so drastically?
So think of a peptide as a protein's shorter, highly communicative cousin. It's essentially a small chain of amino acids that acts as a signaling molecule.
Okay, so it sends messages.
Exactly. It floats through your bloodstream, knocking on the doors of your cells and delivering highly specific instructions. Semaglutide is an engineered peptide designed to be a master mimic.
A mimic of what?
It is built to perfectly imitate a naturally occurring hormone in your body called glucagon-like peptide 1 or GLP-1.
Oh, okay, so it's copying a natural process. Like normally when I sit down and eat a meal, the cells lining my gut detect that food is arriving and they naturally release GLP-1, right?
Spot on.
It's basically the gut sending an alert to the rest of the body saying, hey, incoming calories, prepare the factory.
Precisely. That gut hormone tells your pancreas to immediately ramp up insulin production to pull the sugars from your meal out of your blood.
Makes sense.
But here is the biological catch. And the reason we couldn't just give people natural GLP-1, your body's natural GLP-1 has a half-life of just a few minutes.
Wait, really? Just minutes?
Yeah, an enzyme in your body destroys it almost immediately after it does its job. The breakthrough of semaglutide is that scientists structurally modified the peptides so that it survives in the bloodstream for a week, sending that signal continuously.
But wait, if it's sending a continuous incoming food signal, wouldn't that just completely crash your blood sugar? How does that lead to massive weight loss?
Because it doesn't just knock on the door of the pancreas, it's a multi-system override.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, while it's telling the pancreas to manage insulin and blocking the production of blood sugar-raising glucagon, it simultaneously travels to your stomach and your brain.
I was thinking about this biological cascade,
Yeah.
and it really functions like a smart home automation system for your entire digestive tract.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right, because it doesn't just walk into a room and flip the insulin switch. It initiates a whole programmed routine, like it dims the stomach's emptying speed so everything grinds to a crawl, and then it goes upstairs to the brain and entirely mutes the hunger alarm. It just takes over the entire metabolic environment.
What's fascinating here is that it really is an elegant chemical automation. By targeting the pancreas, the stomach, and the brain simultaneously, you are creating a biochemical environment where weight loss and blood sugar stabilization are finally achievable.
Especially for patients whose internal signaling has been fundamentally broken by severe obesity or type 2 diabetes.
Exactly.
But I'm looking at the clinical guidelines here. And if this drug is so incredibly effective at shutting down hunger and managing insulin, why not just hit the obesity with the 2.4 milligram hammer right out of the gate?
Oh, you definitely don't want to do that.
The course article outlines a very slow step dosing strategy, right? Starting at a tiny 0.25 milligrams and dragging it out over months. Why wait?
Because forcefully hijacking the human digestive system is biologically violent if done overnight.
Violent.
Yeah, I mean, if you paralyze the stomach's emptying speed from 0 to 100, the food literally just sits there fermenting.
Oh, yuck.
The patient would experience immediate severe vomiting and abdominal agony. Step dosing or titrating up slowly over weeks is the only way to gently coax the gastrointestinal tract into accepting this drastically slower rhythm.
Without rejecting the food entirely.
Right.
Which naturally begs the question, once the stomach is chemically forced to hold food at a standstill,
Yeah.
what actually happens to the reality of eating?
It's a drastic change.
This brings us to a massive blind spot in the public conversation, I think. The My-Nutri-Diary article makes a point that I think is critical. People on this drug aren't just politely declining dessert. The drug induces extreme fullness to the point where users are stuffed after 3 or 4 bites of a meal.
Yeah, their overall food volume just plummets. It completely disrupts the physical mechanics of eating.
But wait, if you're trying to lose weight, isn't feeling completely full after 3 bites exactly what you want? Isn't that the ultimate cheat code?
I mean, it sounds perfectly logical on the surface, but it introduces a massive hidden danger, the malnutrition paradox.
Okay, the malnutrition paradox.
Yeah, if you drop your intake to 500 calories a day, you are not engaging in healthy weight loss. You are chemically inducing starvation.
Wow.
And your body doesn't just neatly burn fat when starved. In a severe calorie deficit without adequate protein, your body panics. It needs amino acids to keep your vital organs functioning, so it turns on itself. It begins cannibalizing its own muscle tissue for quick energy.
So you are shrinking, but you're actively destroying your own structural integrity.
Exactly. And if we look through the lens of the My-Nutri-Diary platform, which focuses heavily on healthy aging-preserving muscle mass, is arguably the single most important biological enabler a human being possesses.
Because muscle dictates so much, right?
Yeah, it dictates your basal metabolic rate, it supports your joints, it dictates your bone density, and prevents life-threatening falls as you age. The medical consensus aims for a healthy weight loss of roughly 0.5 to 1.0 kilograms per week.
Just to ensure you are burning fat, not breaking down your biological engine.
Precisely.
So if you are barely eating, every single bite that crosses your lips has to be meticulously calculated. You can't waste space on empty calories.
Leaving room for junk food.
And that completely flips the traditional script on nutrition tracking. Usually people use apps to make sure they stay under a limit. But on semaglutide, you have to use a tool like My-Nutri-Diary to ensure you are actually hitting your minimums.
Making sure those tiny 4-bite meals are densely packed with the protein-essential fats and micronutrients your body needs simply to not auto-cannibalize.
That sounds exhausting, honestly.
That is the core challenge. The drug switches off the hunger, but it absolutely does not feed the cellular systems. The patient still has to do the hard work of nourishing themselves.
Which is incredibly difficult when the very concept of food feels overwhelming. And that profound lack of appetite brings us to the dark side of this entire phenomenon. Because everything we've discussed so far, the slow step dosing, the vigilant muscle preservation, the meticulous nutrient tracking, it all assumes a patient is under strict medical supervision because they clinically require the medication.
Right.
But that is not what is happening in the real world.
No, it's really not. We are witnessing a tidal wave of off-label use. Individuals with a BMI well under the clinical threshold of 30 are sourcing this drug purely for rapid aesthetic weight loss.
They just want to drop 15 pounds before a high school reunion.
Yeah, and they are bypassing the medical guardrails designed to keep them safe.
Let's talk about the physical toll that takes. The course article lists severe gastrointestinal issues like diarrhea, stomach cramps, severe nausea.
Which you mentioned earlier generally subside if the body is given time to acclimate.
Right, but there are also rare severe clinical risks outlined in the literature too, like acute pancreatitis and potential thyroid complications.
Scary stuff.
Yet people are risking all of this for aesthetics. But here's where it gets really interesting. There is a massive contradiction that has been splashing across magazine covers. The Ozempic face.
Ah, yes, the Ozempic face.
If people are taking this to look thin and vibrant, why are we seeing a wave of users looking gaunt, exhausted, and prematurely aged?
This raises an important question about understanding the structural role of fat in the human body. When you force a rapid, unmonitored drop in weight, you cannot direct the drug to only burn visceral fat around the belly.
The drug just burns whatever it can.
Exactly. Off-label users frequently burn through their subcutaneous fat. That's the healthy fat layer just beneath the skin. And in the face, that subcutaneous fat is what provides volume elasticity and youthful structure.
It's basically the scaffolding under the skin.
Precisely. When you rapidly dissolve that scaffolding through chemical starvation, the skin doesn't have time to retract, it sags. The face hollows out.
Wow.
It is a very stark, very visual consequence of prioritizing a number on a scale over actual holistic vitality.
And the toll isn't just physical. The psychological implications are frankly alarming. The course article references a highly specific phenomenon reported in The Guardian regarding the brain's reward center.
Right, because the drug isn't just sending a mechanical signal that your stomach is stretched.
It is interacting with dopamine pathways.
Yeah, the GLP-1 receptors in the brain are deeply intertwined with how we process reward and pleasure. For many users, semaglutide heavily blunts that dopamine release.
Which explains the Guardian piece. It highlighted users who realized they literally miss eating.
Yeah, they don't feel physical hunger, but they grieve the emotional comfort the dopamine hit, the pure joy of a good meal.
Are we walking into a scenario where a drug is actively inducing eating disorders? I mean, if you take a psychologically healthy individual and biochemically wire them to view food with disgust, that feels incredibly dangerous.
It's a massive concern within the psychiatric and scientific communities right now, especially because we are flying incredibly blind regarding the long-term endgame.
We just don't have the data.
No, the incretin mimetic field is relatively young. While we have solid data spanning a few years, we have absolutely no idea what the biological or neurological cost is of keeping a human metabolism artificially suppressed for 2 decades.
And many of the highly publicized glowing efficacy studies were funded by the pharmaceutical manufacturers themselves, right?
Yes. And that isn't inherently nefarious. It's how drug development works. But it means independent, decades-long observational data simply does not exist yet.
We are conducting the experiment in real time,
Pretty much.
which naturally leads us to the final, most crucial piece of the puzzle. What happens when the chemical suppression stops? What happens when you pull the plug on the smart home override?
The body rubber bands.
Hard.
Yeah, the My-Nutri-Diary article points to the findings from the Step 1 trial extension. They tracked patients after they ceased taking semaglutide, and the data is sobering.
What did they find?
Within just 1 year of stopping the injections, participants regained on average 2/3 of the weight they had lost.
2/3 of the weight back in just 12 months. That isn't just a relapse. That is an aggressive metabolic rebound.
Yeah, it really is.
Because the second that engineered peptide clears your bloodstream, your stomach goes right back to its normal rapid emptying speed. And the brain's hunger receptors, which have been chemically gagged for months, start screaming.
And if you haven't used the time on the medication to radically rewire your actual behavior, you're powerless against that hunger.
So what does this all mean? People often use the training wheels on a bicycle analogy, but I think that's too gentle.
How so?
Relying on semaglutide without changing your lifestyle is more like standing in a sinking boat with a massive, high-powered water pump.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
The drug pumps the water out incredibly fast. It gives you breathing room, you feel safe. But if you don't use that temporary safety to actually patch the hole in the hull, if you don't build muscle, fix your diet, and manage your stress, the absolute second you turn the pump off, the ocean rushes right back in and pulls you under.
If we connect this to the bigger picture that perfectly encapsulates the reality, the drug is a pause button on metabolic dysfunction. It buys you time.
But healthy aging is an active, demanding process.
Absolutely. Traditional lifestyle modifications like eating a deeply nourishing diet, engaging in progressive resistance training, prioritizing sleep, those are strictly required. Semaglutide cannot build a resilient, capable body for you.
Right.
It can only quiet the noise long enough for you to do the work yourself.
You still have to patch the boat.
Always.
Well, let's pull all of this together. Semaglutide is undeniably a pharmaceutical marvel. Mimicking gut hormones to artificially halt digestion and blunt hunger is a genuine lifesaver for people whose biology is actively working against them.
It truly is a milestone.
But it is not a cosmetic supplement. It demands extreme vigilance against muscle-wasting malnutrition, carries severe physical and psychological side effects, and virtually guarantees a devastating yo-yo rebound if it isn't paired with permanent lifestyle transformation.
Because true vitality isn't achieved by chemically starving the body to shrink it. It is achieved by nourishing the body to strengthen it.
It's about respecting the machine. Which leaves us with one final lingering thought. We've spent this entire deep dive untangling the biology and the aesthetic consequences, but take a step back and look at the cultural implications.
Yeah, the social side of it.
For the entirety of human history, we have built our societies, our families, and our deepest connections around the shared fundamental joy of gathering for a meal.
It is the ultimate human unifier. Which raises a profound question.
What's that?
If modern science can simply engineer a peptide that switches off our innate drive to eat, effectively rendering the concept of food unappealing or even repulsive, how might the casual, widespread use of these drugs permanently alter our emotional and social relationship with one another?
It's a heavy question. I mean, if a weekly injection erases the hunger, what happens to the human need for the feast? Something to think about until next time. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.